Let me start by telling you something you probably won't like to hear. Most of the time you spend in your life is wasted. Yes, wasted. And you might not even realize it. Society doesn't want you to know this. We're trained from an early age to fill our days with distractions, meaningless tasks, and the constant pursuit of things that don't matter. But what if I told you that almost everything you do, every moment you let slip by, is keeping you from truly living? That might sound harsh. But think about it, how many times have you found yourself mindlessly scrolling through your phone, telling yourself, just 5 more minutes? Or sitting in endless meetings at work that seem to go nowhere, leaving you drained and wondering what you actually accomplished? You've been conditioned to accept these moments as normal, maybe even inevitable. But here's the thing, they're not. What if everything you thought about how to spend your time was wrong? What if the world around you has tricked you into believing that time is something to be filled, rather than valued? This is the hard truth, you've been wasting your time, and you don't even know it. It's a provocative statement, but it's not without evidence. Look at how the majority of people live their lives, working in jobs they don't care about, chasing material things they don't need, numbing themselves with distractions every time they feel uncomfortable. And then they wonder why they feel unfulfilled. They wonder why their lives feel like a blur of busy work, with nothing to show for it at the end of the day. You're not lazy, you're misled. The system is built to keep you too distracted, too busy, too numb to realize what's really happening. But here's where things get even more uncomfortable. It's not just society that's at fault, it's you. You've allowed this to happen. You've made excuses for why you don't have time to pursue your passions, why you haven't taken control of your schedule, why you don't prioritize what truly matters. It's easier to blame external circumstances than to face the fact that you've been complicit in wasting your own time. This isn't a message designed to make you feel guilty. It's designed to wake you up. Because once you understand the truth, you can't unsee it. You'll begin to notice how much of your day is consumed by things that add no value to your life, and you'll start to question why you allow it to happen. And the truth is, nobody is going to fix this for you. Not your boss, not your friends, not your family. It's up to you to value your time, to protect it like the precious resource it is, because no one else will. Now, let me ask you this, what's the value of 1 hour of your life? Think about it for a moment. Not in terms of money or work, but in terms of meaning, fulfillment, and purpose. If you knew you only had 24 hours left to live, what would you do with that time? Would you spend it binge-watching shows or scrolling through social media? Would you waste it on things that don't truly matter? Or would you invest every second in what brings you joy, connection, and purpose? The reality is, we don't know how much time we have left. But we act like it's infinite. We behave as though tomorrow is guaranteed, but deep down, we all know it's not. This is the uncomfortable truth we try to avoid, but the sooner we accept it, the sooner we can start living our lives with intention. The world is full of people who will tell you how to spend your time. But they don't know what your time is worth. Only you can decide that. Your time is the most valuable asset you have. More valuable than money, more valuable than possessions, more valuable than anything else you could possibly acquire in life. This isn't just a motivational cliché, it's an unshakable truth. Once you fully accept this belief, everything changes. Think about it, time is the only thing you can't get back. You can lose money and earn it again. You can lose possessions and replace them. But time, once it's gone forever. Every second that ticks by is a second you will never get back. Yet, despite this undeniable fact, most of us treat time as if it's abundant, wasting hours, days, even years on things that don't align with what truly matters to us. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't comes down to one thing: how they value their time. Successful people, the ones who are truly fulfilled and happy, understand that their time is their life. They know that every minute spent doing something that doesn't contribute to their goals, their happiness, or their personal growth is a minute they'll never see again. But here's the powerful part of this belief: once you internalize that your time is sacred, you begin to guard it fiercely. You stop letting other people dictate how you spend your days. You stop saying yes to every demand, every invitation, every distraction that comes your way. You take control of your time, and in doing so, you take control of your life. Now, I know what you're thinking. I have responsibilities. I have commitments. I can't just stop doing everything that wastes my time. That's a valid concern. But here's the secret that most people don't realize: you have far more control over your time than you think. Think about the last 24 hours. How many of those hours were truly productive? How many of them were spent moving you closer to your goals, your dreams, or even just making you feel fulfilled and happy? If you're like most people, the answer is probably not as many as you'd like. And that's because we've been conditioned to fill our days with busyness rather than meaningful action. But once you adopt the belief that your time is the most valuable thing you have, you start to see the world differently. You begin to ask yourself a simple yet powerful question: is this worth my time? And when you start asking that question regularly, you'll be shocked at how often the answer is no. No, it's not worth your time to engage in that pointless argument. No, it's not worth your time to binge watch a show you don't even care about. No, it's not worth your time to spend hours worrying about things you can't control. This belief forces you to prioritize. It forces you to focus on what truly matters, because you recognize that every minute spent on things that don't matter is a minute stolen from the things that do. But here's the thing: this belief isn't just about cutting out distractions. It's also about making sure that you're spending your time in alignment with your values and your purpose. It's about being intentional with every hour of your day. Because when you start to value your time, you realize that your time is your life. And your life is too precious to be wasted. This isn't a belief that comes naturally to most people. We're taught from a young age that being busy equals being productive, that saying yes to everything means you're being a good person, that sacrificing your time for others is the noble thing to do. But when you believe that your time is your most valuable asset, you stop sacrificing it for things that don't align with your goals, your values, and your happiness. Here's a hard truth: nobody else will value your time as much as you do. Your boss will take as much of it as you're willing to give. Your friends and family will ask for more of it than you can reasonably offer. And society will constantly bombard you with distractions designed to steal your time. But once you adopt the belief that your time is priceless, you begin to set boundaries. You learn to say no. You learn to focus on what matters most. And that's the real power of this belief: it gives you clarity. It helps you see what's truly important in your life, and it empowers you to make decisions that align with your values and your purpose. When you value your time, you don't let other people or external forces dictate how you spend it. You take control. You start to approach each day with intention, asking yourself, what can I do today that will make the best use of my time? And when you live with that level of purpose, when you value every minute of your day as if it were your last, you begin to see the incredible potential of your life. You start to live more fully, more meaningfully, and more joyfully. And isn't that what we're all after? To live a life that's rich with purpose and fulfillment? It starts with this belief: your time is your most valuable asset. Once you believe that, everything else falls into place. Before continuing, I invite you to click on the first comment. It will help you a lot. Here's a statement that might shock you: the more you try to manage your time, the less control you actually have over it. Wait, isn't time management supposed to be the solution? Isn't organizing your day into perfectly planned segments the key to getting more done? That's what we've all been taught, right? But here's the problem: managing time is an illusion. You can't control time. You can't slow it down, speed it up, or pause it. The clock ticks whether you like it or not, and the more you try to force it into neat little boxes, the more you realize how much of it slips through your fingers. Think about it. We live in a world obsessed with productivity hacks, to-do lists, and planners. We buy apps and tools designed to help us optimize every minute of the day. Yet somehow, we still feel overwhelmed, like there's never enough time to get everything done. Why? Because the idea that you can manage time is fundamentally flawed. Time doesn't need to be managed. It needs to be respected. Let me explain what I mean. When you try to manage time, what you're really doing is squeezing as much as possible into each hour. But that leads to burnout, stress, and ironically, less actual progress. You become a slave to the clock, constantly chasing tasks, feeling like you're behind, and never truly present in the moment. In the process, you lose sight of what really matters. Here's the radical truth: the key to mastering your time isn't about doing more, it's about doing less. Let that sink in. Doing less is the real secret. You don't need to fill every moment of your day with tasks. You don't need to be constantly productive to feel valuable. In fact, the constant pressure to be productive is exactly what's robbing you of your time and your peace of mind. Think about the last time you felt truly engaged in something, whether it was a conversation with a friend, working on a passion project, or simply enjoying a walk outside. During those moments, were you thinking about the next item on your to-do list? Probably not. Because when you're fully present, time stops being something you manage and starts being something you experience. The paradox is this: the less you try to control time, the more in control you actually are. You see, the most successful and fulfilled people don't focus on time management. They focus on priority management. They understand that it's not about fitting more into their schedule, it's about making sure the things that truly matter take up the most space. Instead of cramming more into every minute, they let go of the unnecessary and focus on what's essential. But here's where it gets even more counterintuitive: doing less often leads to achieving more. When you focus on fewer things that really matter, you can put more energy, more attention, and more effort into them. The result? Higher quality work, deeper relationships, and more fulfillment. Think of it like this: if you're constantly juggling 10 things, you might keep them all in the air, but none of them will get your full attention. But if you focus on just 2 or 3 things, you can give them the care and attention they deserve. And that's where real progress happens. Here's another surprising truth: multitasking is a myth. You've probably heard people brag about how good they are at multitasking, how they can juggle 100 things at once. But science tells us otherwise. Research shows that the human brain isn't built to focus on more than one thing at a time. When you try to multitask, you're not being more efficient, you're actually being less effective. Every time you switch tasks, you lose focus, and it takes longer to get back on track. So, if you want to take control of your time, stop trying to do everything. Start saying no. Say no to the distractions, the unnecessary meetings, the busy work, and the things that don't align with your values or goals. Learn to prioritize. Focus on what truly matters, and let go of the rest. And here's the final twist: time isn't something that happens to you, it's something you create. That might sound strange, but think about it. 2 people can have the exact same amount of time, but experience it completely differently. One person might feel rushed, stressed, and constantly behind, while the other feels calm, focused, and in control. The difference? It's not the amount of time they have, it's how they approach it. The person who respects their time, who chooses to focus on what matters most, and who lets go of the need to fill every moment with tasks, creates a sense of time abundance. They feel like they have all the time in the world because they've chosen to spend it wisely. Meanwhile, the person who tries to manage every second, who fills their day with unnecessary tasks and distractions, feels like there's never enough time. You don't need more time, you need more focus. The next time you find yourself overwhelmed, ask yourself this: what can I let go of? What's truly important right now? What will make the biggest impact? When you start to ask these questions, you stop trying to manage time and start mastering it. You create time for the things that matter most, and in doing so, you gain control over your life. So, the next time someone tells you that you need to manage your time better, smile and remember this: time doesn't need to be managed. It needs to be respected. When you focus on what truly matters, the time will always be there. Imagine this: in just 24 hours, you can completely transform how you feel about your life, simply by changing how you spend your time. Sounds impossible, right? But it's not. The results may shock you. Here's the truth most people don't realize: it doesn't take weeks, months, or years to start feeling the benefits of valuing your time. It can happen in a single day. When you begin to respect your time, the rewards come fast, and they're life-changing. You can start experiencing a greater sense of control, fulfillment, and clarity in just one day if you make the right choices. The best part? You don't need a complete overhaul of your life. You just need to make small, intentional shifts. So how do you get those fast results? It starts with one simple principle: eliminate the unnecessary. The moment you decide to cut out the things that drain your time, whether that's mindless scrolling, pointless meetings, or saying yes to things out of obligation, you immediately free up space for what truly matters. And that shift can be felt right away. Let's break it down into 3 quick steps that will show you results in just 24 hours. Step 1. Conduct a time audit. This might sound like an extra task, but it's actually a shortcut to gaining clarity. Take 10 minutes to reflect on how you spent your time today. Write down everything you did in the last 24 hours, from the moment you woke up to the time you went to bed. Now, look at that list and ask yourself, how much of that time was actually valuable? How much of it brought you closer to your goals, made you happy, or made you feel fulfilled? You'll probably be shocked at how much of your day was spent on things that didn't matter. And that's a good thing. It's a wake-up call. Because the moment you realize where your time is going, you have the power to change it. And here's where the reward comes in. As soon as you start to see where your time is being wasted, you'll immediately feel more in control. This awareness alone can give you a sense of empowerment, a quick mental shift that makes you realize, I can take charge of this. Step 2. Create time boundaries. Now that you know where your time is going, it's time to set some boundaries. Here's where the fast payoff happens. Start saying no to the things that don't matter. It doesn't have to be a big, dramatic gesture. You don't need to quit your job or cancel every plan. Just pick 1 or 2 things you normally do out of habit, guilt, or obligation, and simply don't do them. Let's say you usually spend 30 minutes in the morning scrolling through social media. What if, tomorrow, you chose to skip that and spend that time on something that brings you joy or sets the tone for a productive day? Maybe it's reading a chapter from a book, going for a walk, or just sitting in silence with your thoughts. In those 30 minutes, you'll feel an immediate shift, because now, you're in control of your time, rather than letting distractions dictate your day. The effect is immediate. You'll feel lighter, more focused, and more energized. That's your quick reward right there. A simple boundary that gives you back control of your time and your mindset. Step 3. Prioritize what matters most. Here's the secret to quick results. When you give your time to what matters most, the sense of fulfillment comes instantly. You don't need to wait weeks or months to feel better about your life. It can happen today. Right now. All it takes is a shift in focus. Take a moment to ask yourself, what's the one thing I can do today that will make me feel accomplished? It doesn't have to be big. It could be as simple as spending 20 minutes working on a passion project, calling a loved one, or doing something for yourself that you've been putting off. Whatever it is, prioritize it, and do it first. When you make your most important task the first thing you tackle, you'll experience the reward immediately. There's a rush that comes with knowing you've spent your time wisely, and that rush can carry you through the rest of the day. Suddenly, the day feels like a win, and you realize just how powerful it is to prioritize your time for what matters. Now, you might be thinking, is it really that easy? Can I truly feel a difference in just one day? Yes, you can, and here's why. When you start to value your time, your mindset shifts immediately. You stop feeling like a victim of the clock and start feeling like the master of your time. That mental switch is where the real reward happens, and it happens fast. Think about it. By the end of just one day, 24 hours spent consciously valuing your time, you'll notice that you feel more in control. You'll feel a sense of accomplishment that maybe has been missing for a while. And that's not all. You'll also notice something else. Once you start valuing your time, the people around you will too. When you set boundaries, others will respect them. When you focus on what's important, distractions start to fade. It creates a ripple effect, where the respect you show for your own time begins to influence the way others interact with you. And that's a reward that compounds over time. Here's the kicker. The feeling of control, fulfillment, and purpose you get from valuing your time is addictive. Once you experience it, even for a day, you won't want to go back to the way things were. The quick reward of feeling in control of your life is the motivation you need to keep going. Each day, you'll want to refine your approach, cut out more distractions, and focus even more on what matters. So, here's your challenge, just one day. For the next 24 hours, make a conscious choice to value your time. Do the time audit, set your boundaries, and prioritize what matters. Feel the difference. Because once you do, you'll never want to go back to wasting your time again. What if I told you that there's a hidden secret to gaining more time, one that almost no one talks about? It's not about waking up earlier, using fancy productivity apps, or cramming more into your already busy schedule. No, this secret is much simpler than that, but far more powerful. And once you discover it, you'll wonder why you hadn't heard about it sooner. Here's the intriguing part. You already have the ability to unlock more time in your life. It's right there, within your grasp, but you probably haven't noticed it. Most people never do. Why? Because we've been conditioned to look at time the wrong way. We see it as something to fill, something to spend, something we never have enough of. But what if there was another way to see time, one that actually gave you more of it? I know what you're thinking. How can you get more time if we all have the same 24 hours? That's the puzzle, right? But what if the key isn't in the amount of time you have, but in how you experience it? What if the real secret to gaining more time is about changing the way you think about it? Let me tell you something that may surprise you. Time doesn't flow the same way for everyone. Have you ever noticed how, when you're deeply engaged in something you love, time seems to slow down? Hours pass, but it feels like just a few minutes. On the flip side, when you're doing something boring or unpleasant, time drags. Every minute feels like an eternity. So, here's the curiosity: is it possible to make time feel different? Could you actually expand your sense of time, creating more space in your life by shifting your mindset and actions? The answer is yes. And once you learn how to do this, you'll start to see time as something that works for you rather than against you. The trick is to stop trying to manage time and start reclaiming it. Here's how that works. Most people think that in order to get more time, they need to become more efficient, shaving minutes off tasks, multitasking, or cramming their schedules with back-to-back activities. But that approach is flawed. The more you try to squeeze into your day, the more frantic and overwhelmed you feel. You may be doing more, but you're experiencing less. But here's the twist: what if the answer to gaining more time wasn't in doing more, but in doing less? Imagine for a moment that you cut out all the things in your life that don't truly matter, the endless meetings, the social media scrolling, the things you do out of habit or obligation that don't bring you any joy or value. What would you be left with? Time. More of it than you ever thought possible. Here's where the magic happens. When you stop filling your time with things that don't matter, you create space for the things that do. And when you focus on what matters, time expands. Your perception of time changes. Suddenly, you're not rushing from one thing to the next. You're not watching the clock, wondering where the day went. You're fully present, fully engaged, and time feels abundant. Think of it like this: if you were given a day to do only the things that truly matter to you, whether that's spending time with loved ones, working on a passion project, or simply enjoying some peace and quiet, how would that day feel? Would it feel rushed, stressful, and exhausting? Or would it feel calm, fulfilling, and expansive? That's the curiosity here. By valuing your time and focusing on what truly matters, you can actually change how time feels. And when you change how time feels, you get more of it. It's like unlocking an extra dimension in your life, one where time isn't slipping through your fingers, but is something you have control over. But wait, it gets even more interesting. Did you know that some of the most successful and fulfilled people in the world don't fill their days with endless tasks? They don't cram every minute with meetings, calls, or busy work. In fact, many of them do the opposite. They protect their time fiercely. They spend long stretches of their day focused on just a few key things. And yet, they achieve more in a single day than most people do in a week. How? They've discovered the secret that's been hiding in plain sight: the less you try to do, the more you actually accomplish. It's a paradox, but it's true. When you stop trying to fill every moment and instead focus on doing fewer things that matter, you create a sense of flow. You enter a state where time works with you, not against you. And the best part? You feel more fulfilled, not because you're doing more, but because you're doing what counts. Here's a challenge for you. Tomorrow, try this experiment. Take just 1 hour of your day and do something that you truly love or that brings you closer to your goals. For that hour, eliminate distractions. Turn off your phone, close your email, and focus entirely on the task at hand. Notice how time feels during that hour. I guarantee it will feel different. It will feel like time has slowed down, giving you more space to think, to create, to enjoy. Now imagine what would happen if you applied that principle to the rest of your day. How much more time would you feel like you had? How much more would you accomplish, not because you're doing more, but because you're doing what matters? This is the secret that so many people miss. We've been taught to believe that time is fixed, that there's never enough of it, and that we have to rush through life, cramming as much into each day as possible. But the truth is, time is flexible. It responds to how we use it, how we respect it, and how we focus on it. So, here's the big question: are you ready to unlock more time in your life? All it takes is a shift in perspective, a willingness to let go of the things that don't matter and focus on what truly does. When you do that, you'll discover that time isn't something that's slipping away. It's something that you can create. Now that you know the secret, what will you do with your time? By now, you've likely realized something powerful. Your time is your greatest asset, and how you use it determines the course of your life. You can't control time, but you can control how you spend it. And that changes everything. We began this journey by challenging the very way you think about time. Society has trained you to see it as something to be managed, something to be filled, something constantly slipping away. But you've learned that's not the truth. Time doesn't need to be managed, it needs to be respected. You've heard the controversial statement that most of the time you spend is wasted, not because you're lazy, but because you're allowing distractions and obligations to dictate your day. The real solution isn't more control over time, but more control over your choices. When you stop wasting time on what doesn't matter, and start focusing on what does, you reclaim your life. You've come to understand that your time is the most valuable thing you own, more valuable than money, success, or any material possession. Once you fully believe this, you start to guard your time like the precious resource it is. And when you do, the rewards come quickly. In just 24 hours, you can experience the power of this shift. Simply by making intentional choices, eliminating distractions, and focusing on what truly matters, you'll feel more in control, more fulfilled, and more alive. The results are fast. It doesn't take weeks or months to start seeing the benefits, it happens today. You've also been let in on a counterintuitive truth: doing less often leads to more success. It's not about cramming your schedule with tasks or multitasking your way through life. The secret is in priority management, focusing on a few key things that truly matter and letting go of everything else. When you stop trying to manage time and start respecting it, time starts working for you. And here's where the curiosity came in: what if you could actually expand your sense of time? You've learned that by cutting out the unnecessary and being fully present in what you do, time feels different. It slows down, creating space for what truly matters. You gain more time not by doing more, but by experiencing each moment more fully. Time is flexible when you choose to focus on what counts. So, here we are. You've unlocked the secret to valuing your time, and now you face a choice. Will you continue letting time slip through your fingers, or will you take control? Will you let distractions and obligations dictate your day, or will you prioritize what truly matters? Your time is your life. What you do with it determines the kind of life you will lead. If you've ever felt like you're drifting, like the days blur into one another without meaning, now is your chance to change that. Now is the moment to take back control and live with intention. The next 24 hours are yours. How will you spend them?